All right, so we are going to watch a short video today. I'm going to get myself out of here. About photosynthesis. Very cool, very cool, very cool. Okay, so photosynthesis is a complex process, and we'll just break it down a little bit more today. So, the food that we eat, the food that comes to us every day, right? You eat food every day. Well, 60% of that food that you eat actually comes from carbohydrates. You get your energy, we get our energy from carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are, if you break them up, their carbo is carbon, hydrate is hydrogen, and then there's oxygen. So there are 1, 2, 3 atoms involved in this one molecule. 1, 2, 3 atoms involved in this one molecule, or compound rather. But where do these atoms come from? Easy. And you actually already know this, and we'll talk about it. So to make foods like fruits and pastas, they all come from one singular source, and it actually starts with air. It starts with air that we exhale. We exhale carbon dioxide. These carbon dioxide molecules is technically a compound, and we'll talk more about that, especially next year. There's one C. C is represented with the white one, and then the O's in oxygen are represented with the reds. So when you breathe out, there's billions of these little compounds that come out of your mouth. It's crazy. It's so interesting. And then guess what? Plants actually have little mouths too. These little mouths are on the leaf of the plant. So you were asked this question in a pretest. Where do plants get in the sunlight and then get in their oxygen? Well, it's actually from this little mouth right here called the stomata. You have to zoom in with a microscope to see it. So our breath, our carbon dioxide, goes into that stomata. And then for the plants, they still need hydrogen and oxygen. So they get that through their roots, through the water. And then that comes all the way up. They need that for the electrons. The hydrogen and oxygen, which is the water, and you know that, it has electrons in it. Remember when we did that lab of a conductor and you noticed that water was actually a conductor, tap water was a conductor? Yeah, because it has electrons in it. And guess what? Plants need those too. They need those to build the carbohydrates. Plants need to build carbohydrates because we need them for energy. Well, you see this green thing right here? This is called an organelle. It doesn't really have eyes in real life. An organelle in a plant cell is like an organ in a human. You know how we have a heart that pumps blood through our bodies? We have lungs that we use to breathe. Well, this is kind of like what the plant uses to transform some energy. So we'll learn about this chloroplast. We don't have it, but plants do. And guys, if you cut open that chloroplast, and we're going to do that right now, there's something in it. It's filled up with something called chlorophyll. That's how I remember it. A chloroplast is filled up with chlorophyll. Maybe spelled differently, but it's still filled up with chlorophyll. This is what makes the plants turn green. That's what gives the plants their color. It's this chlorophyll in there from the chloroplast. This is just extra information about the plant. A typical, a small leaf can have 44,000 cells. There's 20 to about 100 of these chloroplasts inside a cell. So if you multiply that, that means that it's It's 4 million little chloroplasts surrounding this plant. That's why it's all green. It has many chloroplasts, so it's all green. Okay, so this is a process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis, meaning it gets air from us. It needs our carbon dioxide, because it needs carbon, and then it needs the hydrogen and oxygen from the water that it sucks up through its roots, and then combined together, it gets the carbohydrate. But why does it need the sunlight? What does the sunlight even do? Guys, the sun is going to make its entrance through the leaves. The sun comes in through those leaves, and then it connects with the water molecules that are within the leaves because, a chlorophyll wants to get those electrons out. It kind of pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls, but it can't pull it apart by itself. So it uses the solar energy to do that. Once light shines and radiates on it, then the hydrogen compound, the water compound, H2O, starts to peel apart. And then that's when the chlorophyll gets happy. So everything is combined together. You have the carbon, the hydrogen, the oxygen, and all together that makes something that the plant really loves. It makes plant food. The plants make its own food this way. It's spectacular. Plants create its own food inside the chlorophyll in here, right? Using the chlorophyll. And this food is called glucose. Some of you may have heard of glucose before. It's a fancy word for sugar, okay? We call it glucose. Sugar. Plants make sugar. Sugar has carbohydrates. This is what gives the plant energy, and it also gives us energy, okay? So we're going to stop here. I'll play it a little bit more so you see the chemical composition of glucose. C stands for carbon. It has 6 of those guys. H stands for hydrogen. It has 12 of those. That's a ton. And then O stands for oxygen. It has 6 atoms of oxygen in one glucose compound. All right? So we're going to pause here because this is a lot of info. If you want to rewatch this again, you can totally rewatch it again. Very cool, very cool. Appreciate you all for listening.